Assalamu alaikum, my dear brothers and sisters. Inshallah, I hope that you all had a great Ramadan and a great Eid. It's time to resume the Juz Amma class with Surat Al Layl. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here starts, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَى. Allah is swearing by night. Wa is al-qasam, is the swear word, like the word we used to swear, like when we say Wallahi, by Allah. Al-layl is the night, إِذَا يَغْشَى, when it covers. Basically, when it covers everything. وَالنَّهَارِ إِذَا تَجَلَّى, and by the morning, when it clarifies or shows everything. So basically, Allah here is swearing by the night and by the morning. And I explained before what is the greatness of the night, or what are the benefits of the night that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to reflect upon. And the same thing for the morning. But here's something and you can see that in the tafsir of Surah Al-Duha. But the great Mufassir Al-Tahir ibn Ashur, he said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here is talking about the night and day, and talking about how the night becomes clear in basically reference to the darkness of the disbelief and the clarity of belief, that that people were in this darkness. Then Allah brought them the Prophet ﷺ to show them the truth, to show them the light, to show them the straight path. And then also there is something that we'll talk about in Surah Al-Shams. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَالنَّهَارِ إِذَا جَلَّاهَا. Same word is used. And nahar, the morning, jallaha, makes the sun clear. How does the morning make the sun clear when the sun is the thing that brings the morning? We'll explain that, inshallah, from a scientific perspective and from a linguistic perspective when we talk about Surah Al-Shams. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala swears by His creation of the male and the female. وَمَا خَلَقَ, and by He who created, خَلَقَ, created, الذَّكَرَ وَالْأُنثَى, the male and female. Allah here wants us to reflect upon the amazing miracle of creation, the creation of the human beings. Allah challenged humanity and the jinn to even create something as simple as a fly, not a human being, not a male and female. But Allah is reminding us here of His magnificence, of His greatness, of His ability to create the male and female just from the same liquid, but it can end up being a male or it can end up being a female. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Inna sa'yakum lashatta. So here is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is swearing about. He's swearing by the night and by the morning and by His creation of the male and female, that definitely your deeds are diverse. Your deeds are different. Your goals are different. Inna sa'yakum lashatta. So, فَأَمَّا مَنْ أَعْطَى وَاتَّقَى. Then Allah clarifies what is the difference between us when it comes to our goals, when it comes to our deeds. So it's saying, فَأَمَّا مَنْ أَعْطَى. As for those who give, basically give money for the sake of Allah, give their time for the sake of Allah, give their health for the sake of Allah, give their intelligence for the sake of Allah. All of these are ways to give for the sake of Allah. وَاتَّقَى, and they are mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They have taqwa, righteousness. We talked about taqwa in detail in the month of Ramadan, and for the sake of this class, I'm trying to make everything as brief as possible. وَصَدَّقَ بِالْحُسْنَى. Same group of people. So they give, they are mindful of Allah, and they believe. Saddaqa is to believe in al-husna. Al-husna could mean all of the following. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they believe in Allah, they believe in the hereafter, they believe in Jannah, Al-Husna. The Prophet ﷺ described Jannah as Al-Husna. So they believe in their reward. And because of their belief in their reward, they give for the sake of Allah, unlike the people who do not believe in the fact that there's a hereafter, the fact that there's punishment or reward. So they don't give. And they say, should we feed those if Allah wills, He would feed them on His own, right? Those who say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described as in Surah Al-Ma'un, أرأيت الذي يكذب بالدين فذلك الذي يدعو اليتيم. They push away the orphan, even though they spend tons of money to show generosity to their rich friends, but when an orphan comes to them, they push him away. And that is why, because They do not have this belief in a hereafter, in a reward, and in a punishment. So Allah, when He describes the good people, as for those who give and are mindful of Allah, and they believe in Allah and they believe in the hereafter, فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْيُسْرَى. Allah will facilitate their way, their path to goodness, to a good end, to Jannah, basically. And as for وَأَمَّا men, those بَخِلَ, who are stingy, وَاسْتَغْنَى, and they think that they don't need Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is a samad, everything needs Allah, and He does not need anyone. But because that person has money and he's keeping his money for himself, he thinks he does not need Allah anymore. He becomes arrogant because of his wealth that he has. وَكَذَّبَ بِالْحُسْنَى, and that person denies the hereafter, denies Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, denies that there will be a reward or punishment in the hereafter. What will happen to them? Allah says, فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْعُسْرَى, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will facilitate their way to difficulty. Basically, their way to Jahannam. Meaning basically that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows them the truth and they reject the truth. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala leave them on their own in their path of difficulty, basically the path that will lead them to the hellfire. Since this surah is 21 verses, we'll stop here today, inshallah, and we will continue the next part next time. Jazakumullahu khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.